He thought his position gave him all the power. When Tech CEO Richard Whitman threw coffee at brilliant black AI researcher Olivia Taylor, he had no idea she controlled the future of his company. After years of humiliating minorities and stealing their ideas, Richard's perfect world was about to crumble. Watch as Olivia exposes his racism, corruption, and fraud in front of the entire board. The FBI storms in, his career destroyed, his reputation shattered. All because he picked the wrong black woman to disrespect. From public humiliation to total vindication, see how Olivia Taylor transforms Skytech and brings equality to healthcare technology. Was justice truly served with just a 2-year sentence for Richard Whitman? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to see more stories of powerful comeuppance against corporate racism. Olivia Taylor sipped her morning coffee, reviewing her presentation one last time before heading to Skytech Industries. At 35, she'd built an impressive career in artificial intelligence research, overcoming countless obstacles along the way. Her latest algorithm for predictive analytics had caught the attention of tech giants across Silicon Valley, but Skytech's CEO Richard Whitman had been particularly aggressive in pursuing a meeting. "Mom, are you nervous?" asked her 12-year-old daughter Zoe, looking up from her breakfast. Olivia smiled. "A little, this could change everything for us." She straightened her tailored navy suit and checked her reflection. After her husband Michael's death 3 years ago, she'd become both mother and father to Zoe, balancing grief with determination to provide a stable future. "You're going to crush it," Zoe said, mimicking her mother's favorite phrase. "Dad would be so proud." Olivia's throat tightened. "I know, sweetheart." She kissed her daughter's forehead. "Grandma will pick you up after school. I might be late tonight." The drive to Skytech's gleaming headquarters in downtown San Francisco gave Olivia time to rehearse her pitch. Her research had taken 5 years, consuming her savings and countless sleepless nights. But the potential was revolutionary: AI that could predict medical outcomes with unprecedented accuracy, potentially saving millions of lives. Skytech's lobby buzzed with activity as Olivia checked in at reception. "Dr. Taylor for Mr. Whitman, 10 a.m. meeting," she said confidently. The receptionist's smile faltered slightly. "Oh, Dr. Taylor, yes, you're in conference room B, 4th floor." Olivia noticed the subtle change but dismissed it. She'd grown accustomed to people's surprise when they discovered the brilliant Dr. Taylor was a black woman. The elevator ride was quiet, giving her a moment to center herself. Conference room B was already filled with executives when Olivia entered. 6 white men in expensive suits turned to look at her, but Richard Whitman's expression shifted most noticeably. His welcoming smile froze, then transformed into something harder. "Ah, Dr. Taylor," Whitman said, rising slowly. "I was expecting someone different." Olivia extended her hand professionally. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Whitman. I've been looking forward to sharing my research with Skytech." Whitman's handshake was brief, his palm barely touching hers. "Yes, well, let's see what you've got." For the next 30 minutes, Olivia presented her groundbreaking work. Her algorithm had already demonstrated a 94% accuracy rate in predicting treatment outcomes for cancer patients, far exceeding any existing technology. The potential applications were endless. "The prototype is ready for larger clinical trials," she concluded. "With Skytech's resources, we could bring this to market within 18 months. A heavy silence followed. Whitman leaned back, tapping his Mont Blanc pen against the polished table. "Interesting approach," he finally said, his tone dismissive. "Though I'm concerned about the validity of your data sets. They seem limited." Olivia blinked. Her research had used one of the largest anonymized patient databases ever compiled. "I'm sorry, but the data pool included over 3 million cases from diverse." "And your coding methodology," Whitman interrupted. "It's rather unconventional, isn't it?" The other executives shifted uncomfortably. One opened his mouth as if to object, then closed it. "My methodology has been peer-reviewed by leading experts at MIT and Stanford," Olivia replied evenly, though her heart was pounding. "I'd be happy to walk through the technical specifications." Whitman stood abruptly, straightening his designer tie. "I don't think that will be necessary." He picked up her coffee cup from the table. "We're looking for projects with stronger commercial viability." With a flick of his wrist, he tossed the remaining coffee directly onto Olivia's presentation materials. The dark liquid spread across her carefully prepared documents, her laptop even splashing onto her suit. "Oops," he said coldly. "Accidents happen." Olivia froze, stunned by the deliberate act. The room went silent. "You should clean that up," Whitman added with a smirk. "We have another meeting in here at 11. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Oh, and Dr. Taylor, next time you want to play in the big leagues, make sure your research isn't just affirmative action science." As he left, the remaining executives avoided her eyes, filing out quickly behind their CEO. Only one young man stayed behind, handing her a stack of napkins with an apologetic look. Olivia's hands shook as she dabbed at the coffee stains, her mind racing. This wasn't just rejection, it was humiliation. But underneath her shock, something hardened. She pulled out her phone and discreetly took photos of the coffee-stained table, then carefully saved her damaged presentation materials. What Richard Whitman didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that tomorrow morning, the Skytech board would receive a very interesting email from their largest investor. An investor who happened to be Olivia Taylor's silent partner. Richard Whitman strode through Skytech's executive floor, still irritated by his morning meeting. He despised wasting time, and Dr. Taylor's presentation had been exactly that, a waste. His assistant hurried alongside him, struggling to keep pace. "Cancel my lunch with Peterson," he barked, "and reschedule the budget review. I want to focus on the Meridian acquisition today." "Yes, sir," she replied. "Also, Ms. Harrington called again about tomorrow's board meeting. She said it's urgent." Whitman scowled. "What does our dear board secretary want now?" She mentioned a last-minute agenda change, something about a major investor presentation. "Fine, tell her I'll call back." He waved her away and entered his corner office, slamming the door. Meanwhile, across town, Olivia sat in her car, still shaking. She'd managed to compose herself enough to drive away from Skytech, but now parked in a quiet side street, the full weight of what had happened crashed over her. She glanced at her coffee-stained suit and the damaged laptop on the passenger seat. Her phone rang. The display showed David Chen. Olivia took a deep breath and answered. "David, hi." "Olivia, how did it go?" His voice was eager. "Not well," she said quietly. Whitman wasn't interested. A pause. "What do you mean your algorithm is revolutionary?" He didn't care about the technology. He cared that she trailed off. "That you're what?" David asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. "Black, a woman, take your pick." She fought to keep her voice steady. "He actually threw coffee on my presentation materials, called my work affirmative action science." "He what?" David's voice rose sharply. "Tell me everything, now." Olivia recounted the meeting in detail, including Whitman's parting comment. David listened in silence. "Send me the photos you took," he finally said, his voice cold with anger. "And don't worry about anything else. Just go home, be with Zoe, I'll handle this." "What are you going to do?" she asked. "Something I should have done years ago," David replied. "Trust me." After hanging up, Olivia drove home, grateful her daughter was still at school. She needed time to process what had happened and decide her next steps. She changed clothes, made tea, and sat at her kitchen table, opening her backup laptop. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. "Check your email." The message contained a forwarded calendar invitation for a Skytech emergency board meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The subject line read, "Discussion of potential majority stakeholder transaction confidential." Olivia stared at it, confused. What was David planning? Few people knew the true nature of Olivia and David's partnership. They'd met 5 years ago at a tech conference where Olivia, then a struggling researcher, had presented early findings from her AI project. David Chen, a quiet, unassuming tech investor, had approached her afterward. While most venture capitalists had dismissed her ideas without serious consideration, David had seen the potential immediately. He'd offered to fund her research through his investment firm, DCM Partners, with one unusual condition: their partnership would remain confidential. "I prefer to stay behind the scenes," he'd explained. "The technology should speak for itself." Olivia had agreed, grateful for the funding that allowed her to build her prototype without corporate interference. What she hadn't known then was that David Chen wasn't just any investor. His firm controlled significant stakes in multiple tech companies, including, as she later discovered, a substantial position in Skytech Industries. Another email arrived, this one directly from David. "Olivia, you're scheduled to present to the Skytech board tomorrow at 9:15 a.m. Wear your best suit. Bring everything, including the damaged materials. I've attached the required security clearance. Richard Whitman doesn't know yet. He'll find out when you walk in. David." A final line made her breath catch. "P.S. I've arranged a little surprise. DCM Partners is exercising its option to convert preferred shares. As of market open tomorrow, we'll control 37% of Skytech, enough to make some changes." Olivia sat back stunned. All this time she'd known David was an investor in Skytech, but she had no idea his stake was so significant. With 37%, he would be the largest single shareholder, effectively controlling the company. Her phone rang again. It was David. "Did you get my email?" he asked without preamble. "David, what are you doing?" "What I should have done long ago," he replied. "Skytech has been rotting from the head for years. Whitman's behavior today was just the final straw. The board needs to see exactly who they've put their faith in." "But why involve me? Haven't I been humiliated enough?" "Because you deserve justice, Olivia, and because your technology is going to change the world." His voice softened. "I believe in you, I always have. Now it's time for everyone else to see what I see." After they hung up, Olivia sat motionless, considering what tomorrow might bring. Part of her wanted to forget Skytech entirely, to find another path for her technology. But another part, the part that remembered her daughter's words this morning, that pictured Michael looking down on her, knew she had to see this through. She opened her closet and removed her best suit, a charcoal gray ensemble she'd purchased for Michael's funeral but never worn again. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow, Richard Whitman would learn exactly who he'd thrown coffee at. At 8:30 a.m., Olivia handed her ID to the security guard at Skytech's executive entrance. The woman checked her clipboard, eyes widening slightly. "Dr. Taylor, you're cleared for the ninth floor boardroom. Mr. Chen asked me to escort you personally." Olivia nodded, gripping her leather portfolio tightly. Inside were her presentation materials, including the coffee-stained documents from yesterday, sealed in clear plastic sleeves as evidence. She'd barely slept, rehearsing what she would say, how she would maintain her composure. The elevator rose smoothly to the ninth floor, executive territory she hadn't seen yesterday. The doors opened to reveal David Chen waiting for her, dressed impeccably in a tailored charcoal suit. His usually gentle face was set in determined lines. "Right on time," he said, giving her a reassuring smile. "How are you feeling?" "Like I might throw up," Olivia admitted quietly. David squeezed her shoulder. "You won't. You faced worse than Richard Whitman." He led her down a hallway lined with portraits of previous company leaders, all white men, to a set of imposing double doors. Through the glass panels, Olivia could see several people already seated around a massive oval table. "The meeting starts at 9, David explained. "Whitman always arrives exactly on time, never early, never late. It's one of his power moves. We'll enter at 9:10 after he's settled in." "Who knows I'm coming?" Olivia asked. "Only the board secretary. The agenda simply lists investor presentation on company culture and ethics." David checked his watch. "We have a few minutes. There's something you should know." He guided her to a small waiting area out of sight of the boardroom. "After your call yesterday, I made some inquiries. Turns out you're not the first minority professional Whitman has humiliated. I found 3 former employees with similar stories, all brilliant, all pushed out or driven away." Olivia wasn't surprised. "But they never reported it. They signed NDAs as part of their severance, but I've had my legal team contact them. If necessary, they're willing to break those agreements." He paused. "There's more. The Meridian acquisition Whitman's been pushing. Their technology is remarkably similar to yours, but significantly less advanced." Olivia frowned. "That makes no sense. Why reject my algorithm only to buy an inferior version?" "Because Meridian's founder is Whitman's former college roommate," David said grimly. "He's planning to pay $300 million for technology worth perhaps a tenth of that. The board doesn't know the details yet." Before Olivia could respond, they heard the distinctive sound of Richard Whitman's voice echoing down the hallway, followed by sycophantic laughter from his entourage. David pulled Olivia deeper into the waiting area, out of sight. Whitman strode past without noticing them, 3 executives trailing behind him like remeras behind a shark. The boardroom doors opened and closed. David checked his watch again. "Let's give him 10 minutes to get comfortable." At precisely 9:10, David led Olivia to the boardroom doors. He paused, hand on the handle. "Ready?" She straightened her shoulders. "Ready." The conversation inside ceased immediately as they entered. 12 faces turned toward them, 11 curious, 1 thunderstruck. Richard Whitman's mouth actually fell open, his face reddening as he recognized Olivia. "Good morning," David said pleasantly, guiding Olivia to 2 empty seats across from Whitman. "Thank you all for accommodating this last-minute agenda item." The board chairwoman, a silver-haired woman named Olivia Fitzgerald, looked confused. "Mr. Chen, we weren't expecting you today. The agenda mentioned an investor presentation." "Yes," David smiled, "that would be me. As of market open this morning, my firm holds 37% of Skytech's outstanding shares, making us the largest shareholder." He placed a document on the table. "The SEC filing has been completed." A murmur ran around the table. Whitman's face had progressed from red to purple. "This is highly irregular," he sputtered. "Board protocol requires." "I'm quite familiar with the protocol, Richard," David cut in smoothly. "As major shareholders, we're entitled to address governance concerns directly with the board." He turned to Olivia. "Dr. Taylor, would you please introduce yourself?" Olivia rose, heart hammering but voice steady. "I'm Dr. Olivia Taylor, CEO of Neura Tech Medical AI. Yesterday, I presented my company's breakthrough predictive analytics algorithm to Mr. Whitman and his team." Olivia Fitzgerald looked interested. "The medical AI project? I've heard promising things. What is the meaning of this?" Whitman demanded, half rising from his chair. "This presentation was rejected yesterday. It has no business." "Please let Dr. Taylor finish," David said quietly but with steel in his voice. Olivia opened her portfolio and removed the plastic-covered documents. "Yesterday's meeting ended when Mr. Whitman deliberately poured coffee over my presentation materials and laptop." She placed the stained documents on the table. "He then suggested my research was, quote, affirmative action science, unquote." The boardroom fell silent. Several members looked visibly uncomfortable. "That's absurd," Whitman scoffed. If anything spilled, it was an accident and I never made such a comment. Olivia remained calm. I have photographs of the incident. She slid printed copies across the table. And the young man who offered me napkins afterward has provided a written statement confirming my account. Eleanor Fitzgerald examined the photos, her expression hardening. Richard, is this true? This is a setup, Whitman snapped. Chen has obviously coached her. Until yesterday, David interrupted, I had never mentioned Dr. Taylor to anyone at Skytech, but after what happened, I made some calls. He distributed folders to each board member. Inside, you'll find statements from 3 former Skytech employees, all minorities, all with similar experiences with Mr. Whitman. You'll also find documentation of the proposed Meridian acquisition, including technical assessments proving their technology is vastly inferior to Dr. Taylor's, despite the $300 million price tag. Whitman's face drained of color. His eyes darted around the table, seeking allies, finding none. These are serious allegations, Eleanor said gravely. I believe we need to discuss this in executive session. She looked at Olivia. Dr. Taylor, would you be willing to wait outside while we confer? Olivia nodded. Of course. As she rose to leave, David remained seated. As the largest shareholder, I'll be staying, he said calmly, and I believe we should hear Dr. Taylor's full presentation before any decisions are made. Eleanor considered this, then nodded. Agreed. Dr. Taylor, please continue. Whitman stared at Olivia with naked hatred as she opened her laptop and began her presentation anew. While Olivia presented her groundbreaking AI algorithm to the now attentive board, Richard Whitman sat stiffly in his chair, jaw clenched. His eyes darted between her and David Chen, calculating his next move. 24 hours ago, he had dismissed this woman without a second thought. Now she stood before the board, commanding respect with each slide. As you can see, Olivia continued, our system predicted treatment outcomes with 94% accuracy across diverse patient populations. She highlighted a graph showing results by demographic groups. Unlike competing technologies, our algorithm maintains consistent performance regardless of the patient's race, gender, or socioeconomic status. Eleanor Fitzgerald leaned forward, clearly impressed. And you verified these results independently? Yes, through blind testing at 3 major research hospitals. Olivia advanced to a slide showing institutional logos. Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, and UCSF all confirmed our findings. A board member, a distinguished-looking black man Olivia recognized as Dr. James Harrington, former Surgeon General, spoke up. This addresses a critical gap in medical AI. Most systems show significant performance disparities across racial lines. Exactly, Olivia nodded. We specifically designed our dataset to eliminate those biases. Whitman snorted. And yet yesterday you couldn't answer basic questions about your methodology. All eyes turned to him. I wasn't given the opportunity to answer, Olivia replied evenly. You interrupted my explanation, then poured coffee on my materials. David Chen slid another document onto the table. Board members, the next item in your packets is a transcript from yesterday's meeting. As you may know, all presentations in Conference Room B are automatically recorded for legal compliance. Whitman's face went pale. I took the liberty of having the audio transcribed, David continued. You'll find Mr. Whitman's exact words on page 3, paragraph 4. The rustling of papers filled the room as board members turned to the reference page. Eleanor Fitzgerald's expression darkened as she read. Richard, she said sharply, this transcript shows you saying, and I quote, next time you want to play in the big leagues, make sure your research isn't just affirmative action science. The recording must have been doctored, Whitman protested, but his voice lacked conviction. Dr. Harrington removed his glasses, his gaze piercing. I find that comment particularly troubling, Richard, especially given Dr. Taylor's credentials, MIT undergraduate, Stanford Medical School, published in The Lancet and Nature Medicine. The coffee incident could perhaps be dismissed as an accident, Eleanor continued, though the photographs suggest otherwise, but this comment reflects a deeply concerning attitude. David Chen cleared his throat. If I may, there's more you should know. He gestured to his assistant, who had entered silently with a young man Olivia recognized as the executive who had offered her napkins yesterday. This is Thomas Wright, VP of Software Development at Skytech, David introduced him. Mr. Wright was present at yesterday's meeting and has some information to share. Thomas stepped forward nervously, his eyes avoiding Whitman's glare. After Dr. Taylor left yesterday, Mr. Whitman instructed me to access her presentation files from the conference room system. He said he wanted to review something, but I was uncomfortable with the request since it violated our data security protocols. He placed a flash drive on the table. These are the system logs showing that someone using Mr. Whitman's credentials accessed Dr. Taylor's presentation files at 11:23 a.m. yesterday, copying them to a secure server. That's standard procedure, Whitman interjected. All presented materials are archived. Not on the R&D developmental server, Thomas replied quietly, and not with file names matching the Meridian acquisition documents. A murmur ran through the board members. David Chen nodded to Thomas, who continued. I was concerned, so I checked the Meridian technical specifications we received last week. This morning I found they had been updated overnight. He swallowed hard. The new specs include several features that appear identical to Dr. Taylor's proprietary algorithms. The timestamps show the files were modified at 1:14 a.m. today. This is outrageous, Whitman slammed his fist on the table. I'm being set up. By whom? Aliner asked coolly. Mr. Wright works directly for you. He has nothing to gain by fabricating evidence. Chen, obviously, Whitman pointed at David. He's orchestrated this whole charade to take control of Skytech. David remained calm. I've been concerned about Skytech's leadership for some time, yes, but I only learned of Dr. Taylor's experience yesterday afternoon. The evidence Mr. Wright has provided came from his own initiative. Thomas nodded. I've worked at Skytech for 7 years. This isn't the first time I've seen Mr. Whitman dismiss promising technology from certain demographics, but it's the first time I've seen him attempt to steal it. Olivia watched the scene unfold, amazed at how quickly Whitman's position was crumbling. She hadn't expected this level of evidence against him or allies within his own organization. Aliner Fitzgerald turned to Olivia. Dr. Taylor, did you authorize anyone at Skytech to access your proprietary technology after yesterday's meeting? Absolutely not, Olivia replied firmly. I presented an overview of our results, but the core algorithms remain proprietary. Any attempt to replicate them based on yesterday's presentation would constitute intellectual property theft. Another board member, a lawyer Olivia didn't recognize, spoke up. The potential legal exposure here is enormous. If Dr. Taylor's claims are substantiated, and it appears they are, Skytech could face significant damages. Whitman's face had grown increasingly ashen. This is ridiculous. We don't need to steal technology from startups. We have the best research team in the industry. A team that's lost 7 minority researchers in the past year alone, David added, passing out another document. Exit interviews suggest a pattern of discrimination and credit theft. Dr. Harrington studied the document, then looked up at Whitman. Richard, how do you explain this turnover rate? Before Whitman could answer, his phone buzzed loudly. He glanced at it, then abruptly stood. I need to take this. It's urgent. Sit down, Richard, Aliner said firmly. Whatever it is can wait. We're discussing serious allegations of discrimination and intellectual property theft. Whitman's phone continued buzzing. His eyes darted to the exit. I need 5 minutes. This meeting continues, Aliner insisted. Dr. Taylor hasn't completed her presentation. As Whitman reluctantly resumed his seat, Olivia noticed his hand trembling slightly. The confident, dismissive executive from yesterday was unraveling before her eyes. David caught her gaze and gave an almost imperceptible nod. The message was clear, keep going, the board is listening now. With renewed confidence, Olivia returned to her presentation, determined to show these people exactly what Richard Whitman had tried to steal and why her technology could transform healthcare for millions. Richard Whitman's phone continued to vibrate intermittently throughout Olivia's presentation. His face grew increasingly strained, eyes darting between his screen and the door. Whatever message he'd received had clearly rattled him. Olivia, meanwhile, had hit her stride. The board members leaned forward, engaged by the potential applications of her AI technology. In summary, she concluded, our system could reduce misdiagnosis rates by up to 62%, potentially saving thousands of lives annually while reducing healthcare costs by billions. Dr. Harrington nodded appreciatively. Remarkable work, Dr. Taylor. I've reviewed many medical AI platforms, and yours addresses critical gaps others have ignored. Thank you, Olivia replied. We designed it specifically to work for all patients, not just those well represented in traditional medical datasets. Aliner Fitzgerald turned to the board. Questions for Dr. Taylor? Several hands rose. For 15 minutes, Olivia fielded technical questions with confidence and precision. With each answer, she could see Whitman sinking lower in his chair, his earlier bluster evaporating. When the questions ended, Aliner addressed the room. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. This is precisely the kind of innovation Skytech should be pursuing. She turned to Whitman. Richard, do you have anything to add regarding your evaluation of this technology? Whitman straightened, attempting to regain his composure. While Dr. Taylor's presentation is impressive, I stand by my initial assessment. There are significant implementation challenges she's glossed over. Such as, Dr. Harrington challenged. Integration with existing hospital systems, for one, Whitman replied. and regulatory approval timelines. The FDA process for AI in critical care is notoriously difficult, Olivia smiled. Actually, we've already received preliminary FDA approval through their Breakthrough Devices program. The documentation is in your packets, page 12. As the board members flipped to the relevant page, the boardroom door opened. A woman in a crisp suit entered, handing a note to Alina Fitzgerald. Alina read it, her eyebrows rising. It seems we have another development. She looked at Whitman. Richard, are you aware that federal agents are currently in the building? The color drained from Whitman's face. What? FBI agents arrived 20 minutes ago with a warrant to search your office and secure Skytech servers. She held up the note. They're specifically looking for evidence of intellectual property theft and securities fraud related to the Meridian acquisition. The room erupted in murmurs. Whitman half rose from his chair. This is absurd. I need to speak with legal immediately. Our general counsel is already with them, Alina replied coldly. Apparently, they received an anonymous tip last night with substantial evidence. All eyes turned to David Chen, who shrugged innocently. Don't look at me, I only learned about Dr. Taylor's situation yesterday. Thomas Wright cleared his throat. Actually, I contacted the FBI this morning. After discovering the file transfers, I felt I had an ethical obligation. Whitman lunged across the table toward Thomas. You treacherous little... Two board members restrained him as Alina Fitzgerald stood. That's enough, Richard. Sit down or I'll have security remove you. As Whitman subsided, breathing heavily, the boardroom door opened again. A stern-faced woman in a dark suit entered, flanked by two agents. Special Agent Ramirez, FBI, she announced, showing her credentials. Richard Whitman? Whitman slumped in his chair. I want my attorney. That's your right, Agent Ramirez replied evenly. But I need you to come with us now. We have questions regarding potential violations of the Economic Espionage Act and securities fraud statutes. This is a mistake, Whitman insisted, his voice hollow. I've done nothing wrong. The evidence suggests otherwise, Agent Ramirez said. Our forensic team is imaging your devices as we speak. Preliminary findings show unauthorized access to Dr. Taylor's intellectual property and communication with Meridian executives that appears to constitute securities fraud. Alina Fitzgerald stood. As board chair, I assure you Skytech will cooperate fully with your investigation, Agent Ramirez. She turned to Whitman. Richard, in light of these circumstances, I'm placing you on administrative leave effective immediately. You can't do that, Whitman protested. I built this company. The bylaws are quite clear, Alina replied firmly. Section 7.3 allows for immediate suspension of any officer facing criminal investigation. She nodded to the federal agents. He's all yours. As Agent Ramirez led Whitman toward the door, he turned back, his eyes locking with Olivia's. This isn't over, he hissed. You have no idea who you're dealing with. David Chen stood. Actually, Richard, I think it is over, and it's you who never realized who you were dealing with. After Whitman was escorted out, Alina addressed the board. This is an unprecedented situation. I suggest we take a 30-minute recess to process what we've learned, then reconvene to discuss next steps. As the board members filed out, many stopped to speak with Olivia, expressing interest in her technology and dismay at Whitman's behavior. David remained by her side, making introductions and fielding questions. When they were finally alone, Olivia exhaled deeply. I can't believe what just happened. Did you know the FBI would show up? David shook his head. No, that was unexpected. Though I'm not entirely surprised, Thomas must have found something significant in those servers. What happens now? Olivia asked. Now, David smiled, we negotiate. With Whitman gone, Skytech needs a new direction and new technology. Your AI could be exactly what they need. Olivia felt a mix of vindication and uncertainty. But can I trust them after this? With the right leadership, yes, David replied. And I think the board just got a harsh wake-up call about the culture Whitman created. He checked his watch. The recess is almost over. Ready for round 2? Olivia squared her shoulders. More than ready. As they prepared to re-enter the boardroom, Olivia's phone buzzed with a text from Zoe. How's it going, Mom? Crush it? Olivia smiled. For the first time in years, she felt like she truly was crushing it and justice was finally being served. The boardroom had transformed during the recess. The tension that had dominated earlier was replaced by purposeful energy as board members reconvened, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. Olivia noticed several new faces, the company's general counsel, the chief financial officer, and a woman introduced as Vanessa Mills, Skytech's VP of Human Resources. Alina Fitzgerald called the meeting to order. Before we continue, I've asked our legal and HR teams to join us. The events of today have serious implications for Skytech. She turned to the general counsel. Martin, what can you tell us about the FBI investigation? Martin Peterson adjusted his glasses. The warrant is focused on intellectual property theft related to Dr. Taylor's technology and securities fraud connected to the Meridian acquisition. Agent Ramirez indicated they have substantial evidence, including communications between Whitman and Meridian executives suggesting collusion to artificially inflate Meridian's value. My God, muttered a board member, how did we miss this? Whitman kept the technical details of the Meridian deal tightly controlled, Martin explained. Only his inner circle had full access. Alina turned to Vanessa Mills. And the discrimination allegations? Vanessa looked uncomfortable. I've pulled the exit interviews Mr. Chen referenced. They do show a concerning pattern. 7 minority researchers left in the past year, all citing cultural issues or lack of advancement opportunities. None specifically alleged discrimination. Because they signed NDAs as part of their severance, David Chen interjected. My team has contacted 5 of them. With Whitman suspended, 3 have already agreed to speak openly about their experiences. Vanessa nodded reluctantly. That matches what I've observed. There's been resistance to my diversity initiatives, particularly from Whitman's leadership team. Dr. Harrington leaned forward. So we have potential criminal charges against our CEO, discrimination allegations that could lead to lawsuits, and a $300 million acquisition that now appears fraudulent. He shook his head. This is a governance failure of the highest order. Alina didn't flinch. Yes, it is. And we all bear responsibility for not providing proper oversight. She squared her shoulders. But our focus now must be on damage control and charting a path forward. Olivia watched this exchange with fascination. She had expected resistance, perhaps even attempts to minimize what had happened. Instead, the board seemed determined to face the issues head-on. Alina turned to David Chen. As our largest shareholder, I assume you have thoughts on next steps. David nodded. I do. First, we need to ensure complete cooperation with the federal investigation. Second, we must halt the Meridian acquisition immediately. Third, we should conduct an independent review of our company culture, focusing on diversity and inclusion. The CFO spoke up. Canceling Meridian will create a significant gap in our product roadmap. The market is expecting an AI announcement this quarter, David smiled. Which brings me to my 4th point. He gestured to Olivia. Skytech needs revolutionary AI technology. Dr. Taylor has it. I propose we enter good faith negotiations to either acquire her company or form a strategic partnership. All eyes turned to Olivia. She straightened, feeling the weight of the moment. I came here yesterday hoping for exactly that kind of partnership, she said carefully. But after what happened, I need assurances that my work will be respected, my team protected, and our vision maintained. Alina nodded. Those are reasonable concerns, Dr. Taylor. What would you need to consider working with Skytech? Olivia had thought about this during the recess. 3 things. First, full control over the technical development of my AI system. Second, a commitment to maintain its accessibility across demographic groups, no premium pricing that creates healthcare disparities. Third, seats on any oversight committees for both myself and my diverse technical team. Dr. Harrington smiled approvingly. Those terms align perfectly with ethical AI development. I would strongly support them. The CFO looked less enthusiastic. The financial terms would need careful consideration. We were prepared to pay $300 million for Meridian. My technology is worth considerably more, Olivia said firmly, but I'm more interested in impact than maximizing profit. With the right partnership structure, we could find terms that work for everyone. David nodded. I suggest forming a working group to explore options, acquisition, strategic investment, or joint venture. He glanced at Olivia. With Dr. Taylor's agreement, of course. I'm open to discussions, Olivia confirmed. But I won't compromise on the ethical application of this technology. Alina looked around the table. I believe we have consensus to pursue this course. I'll appoint a working group immediately. She paused. There's one more critical matter we need to address, interim leadership. The room grew quiet. With Whitman suspended, Skytech needed an acting CEO. David cleared his throat. I'd like to nominate Dr. James Harrington for interim CEO. Dr. Harrington looked surprised. Me. I've never run a tech company. You've led complex organizations, including the U.S. Public Health Service, David pointed out. You understand both the technology and ethical implications of what we do. Most importantly, you have the moral authority to change the culture here. Several board members nodded in agreement. Alina smiled. Dr. Harrington, would you be willing to serve while we conduct a formal search? After a moment's consideration, Dr. Harrington nodded. For the interim period, yes, on one condition. He looked at Olivia. That Dr. Taylor agrees to serve as a special advisor on AI ethics and development during this transition. Olivia hadn't expected this. I would be honored, she said, genuinely moved by the request. Then I accept, Dr. Harrington said. My first order of business will be a comprehensive review of the company's culture and practices with a focus on building a more inclusive environment. Alina put the motion to a vote. It passed unanimously. Effective immediately, Dr. James Harrington is appointed acting CEO of Skytech Industries. She turned to Olivia. And Dr. Olivia Taylor is appointed special advisor on AI ethics and development. As the meeting continued with discussion of next steps, Olivia felt a profound sense of vindication. Just 24 hours earlier, she had left this building humiliated and angry, her dreams seemingly shattered by Richard Whitman's cruelty and prejudice. Now Whitman was facing criminal charges, while she had not only secured a path for her technology but gained a platform to ensure it would be used ethically and inclusively. David leaned over and whispered, "Congratulations, this is just the beginning." Olivia thought of her daughter Zoe, of all the sacrifices they had made for this moment. "Yes," she replied quietly, "just the beginning." 6 months later, Olivia stood at the podium in Skytech's largest auditorium, looking out at hundreds of faces. Employees, investors, media, and healthcare partners gathered for the official launch of EquiCare AI. Behind her, a large screen displayed the system's interface, designed to be accessible to medical professionals of all backgrounds. "Today marks not just the launch of new technology," she began, "but a fundamental shift in how artificial intelligence can serve healthcare. EquiCare AI is designed with one core principle: equal care for all patients, regardless of race, gender, economic status, or geography." In the front row, Zoe beamed with pride, sitting between David Chen and Dr. Harrington. At 13, she had grown 2 inches in the past 6 months and developed a passionate interest in medical technology, inspired by her mother's work. "When we began this journey," Olivia continued, "many said it was impossible to build an AI system without the biases that plague healthcare. Today, we prove them wrong." She clicked to the next slide, showing performance metrics across demographic groups. The consistent results across all populations drew appreciative murmurs from the audience. "This technology will save lives, not just some lives, but all lives equally." She paused, letting the message sink in. "And that's a direct result of our diverse development team." Olivia gestured to the front row where her technical team sat. Unlike most tech companies, her team reflected the diversity of the world it served: women, people of color, individuals with disabilities, all contributing their unique perspectives. Innovation thrives when different viewpoints converge on a common goal. The proof is in our results. As Olivia concluded her remarks, the applause was thunderous. Dr. Harrington joined her on stage for the official signing ceremony, a partnership agreement between Skytech and Neuratech, Olivia's company. The terms had been carefully negotiated over months. Skytech would invest $500 million for a 30% stake in Neuratech, while Olivia maintained control of the technology and its ethical implementation. The spotlight moment completed, Olivia stepped away from the cameras, accepting congratulations from colleagues and investors. She found a quiet corner where David Chen waited with Zoe. "You crushed it, Mom," Zoe exclaimed, hugging her tightly. Olivia laughed. "I had good inspiration." She turned to David. "And a powerful ally," David smiled. "I just opened a door, you walked through it on your own merit." "Of doors opening," Olivia said, "have you heard the news about Richard Whitman?" David nodded grimly. "The plea deal was announced this morning: 2 years in federal prison for securities fraud plus restitution. The intellectual property theft charges were dropped as part of the agreement." "2 years seems light," Olivia observed. "The financial penalties aren't," David replied. "He's forfeiting stock worth over $100 million, and his career is effectively over." Zoe frowned. "After what he did to you, Mom, he deserves worse." Olivia placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "The best revenge isn't punishment, Zoe, it's success. Look around, our technology will help millions of people. That's worth more than seeing him suffer." Dr. Harrington approached, having escaped the media scrum. "Congratulations, Olivia. The board just received preliminary interest from 5 major hospital systems. They've been waiting for today's announcement." "That's wonderful," Olivia replied. "How soon can we begin implementation?" "The pilot programs could start next month," he said. "But that's not all." He handed her a tablet displaying a news article. "The Whitman investigation has sparked a broader examination of discrimination in tech. 3 other companies have announced reviews of their management practices." Olivia scrolled through the article. "This is bigger than just Skytech, isn't it?" "Much bigger," Dr. Harrington confirmed. "Your stand against Whitman has become something of a watershed moment. I've had calls from a dozen tech CEOs wanting to discuss diversity initiatives." As they talked, Vanessa Mills, now Skytech's chief diversity officer, joined them. Under Dr. Harrington's leadership, she had been empowered to implement real changes, starting with reviewing every exit by minority employees over the past 5 years. "The outreach program is going remarkably well," she reported. 3 of the researchers who left under Whitman have agreed to return, and our new recruitment practices have increased diversity in technical roles by 37% already." Olivia nodded appreciatively. The cultural transformation at Skytech had been as important to her as the business partnership. What about Thomas Wright? How is he doing in his new role? Thriving, Vanessa replied. His promotion to Chief Technology Officer sent a powerful message that speaking truth to power is valued here now. Thomas had taken a significant risk by coming forward about Whitman's actions. Rather than being sidelined as a whistleblower, he had been recognized for his integrity and technical abilities. As the conversation continued, Olivia excused herself for a moment, stepping out onto a balcony overlooking the San Francisco skyline. 6 months ago, she had sat in her car outside this very building, humiliated and angry after Whitman had thrown coffee on her presentation. Now her technology was launching with backing from one of the largest tech companies in the world. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Your father is watching from heaven, bursting with pride. We all are." Olivia blinked back tears. Her father had always told her that talent and integrity would eventually overcome prejudice. There had been times when she doubted that, when the barriers seemed too high, the system too rigged. David Chen joined her on the balcony. Taking a moment, she nodded, just reflecting on how much has changed. "You changed it," he said simply. "Your courage that day in the boardroom, your refusal to be silent." "I had help," Olivia acknowledged. "You, Thomas, Dr. Harrington, even Agent Ramirez." "True allies," David agreed, "but the spark was yours." He gazed at the skyline. "What's next for Dr. Olivia Taylor?" Olivia smiled. "Next, we make sure this technology reaches everyone who needs it, not just wealthy hospitals, but rural clinics, underserved communities, developing nations." "Ambitious," David observed. "Necessary," Olivia countered. "Equality in healthcare isn't a luxury, it's a right." From inside, they heard Zoe calling, "Mom, they're asking for you for the demonstration." Olivia took a deep breath. Back to work. As she re-entered the auditorium, applause erupted again. Cameras flashed as she took her position at the demonstration station. On the giant screen behind her, the EquiCare AI interface awaited her command. This moment represented everything she had fought for, not just personal vindication against one racist executive, but a fundamental shift toward more equitable technology. Richard Whitman had thrown coffee at her to silence and humiliate her. Now his career was over, while hers was just beginning to soar. But as she began the demonstration, Olivia wasn't thinking about Whitman or revenge. She was thinking about the patients whose lives would be saved by this technology. Patients who looked like her daughter, like the diverse team that had built it. "Let me show you," she said to the rapt audience, "how we're going to change healthcare for everyone."